Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Symmetra Tips. For those of you who don't know who I am an avid Symmetra player who has played her for over 50 hours this competitive season and managed to reach a peak of 3850 SR. So today I'll be discussing how I play her on the first point of defense on assault maps, which is where most of you guys will probably be playing her. I am by no means the best Symmetra player out there, and some of the things I say you may disagree with or I may be doing wrong, so please let me know in the comments below. This is just the playstyle that has worked for me, and I hope you guys gain something out of it. Even though Sim has only recently had changes to her kit, she still works most effectively on the first point of defense on assault maps. So before the round begins, you want to start setting up your turrets, right? But what I like to do is to set up turrets around the enemy spawn, which usually gives a big boost to your ultimate charge, especially if the enemy is careless. This is most effective on maps such as Hanamura or Eichenwald, where the path to the enemy spawn is short, well hidden, and less likely to reveal you. I usually place all my turrets down, but you may choose to place less if you want to save your turrets for the actual choke. Now, when the countdown begins, you want to fully charge your right click and aim it directly at the main exit of the enemy spawn. As a general rule of thumb, you should release just after the 3-second mark, where it will usually hit the enemy as the door opens. As the enemy team begins pushing, you want to pull back and set up your turrets on the choke before retreating to a safer position further back. Your main priority now is to get your ultimate as soon as you can and making sure you don't die. The best way to do this is to find cover from which you can peek and shoot orbs, and also bear in mind that a half charged orb is almost as damaging as a fully charged one, so it isn't necessary to fully charge every shot. In fact, it is useful to change the pace of your orbs and force the enemy to dodge your spam. Do not spam your shield barrier, however. It is actually a very useful ability if timed right and should be used wisely in situations where, for example, your Reinhardt might need time to regenerate his shield, where you need cover when engaging or disengaging fights, or to block highly damaging abilities. One of its greatest uses is to block enemy ultimates such as D.Va's Self-Destruct, Tracer's Pulse Bomb, or even Earth Shatter, if you can anticipate and time it properly. If you see the enemy Reinhardt advancing quickly or charging into your team, he's probably about to hammer down, so aim your shield at the ground and it will block the ability and potentially save your team from being wiped. Once you get your ultimate, you want to put it down immediately just in case you get picked off and don't have the opportunity to. A question I get asked a lot is whether to use teleporter or shield generator, and this comes down to a lot of factors. Things such as how well you're defending, the map itself, the enemy team comp, as well as your own team comp. As a general guide, if your team is defending really well and has the momentum, you want to put down a shield generator to give your team an additional boost. If a few of your teammates have been picked off very early, you may want to put down a telly just so they can get back and reset. If you have supports like Mercy or Zenyatta, shield generator can be really useful to protect them since they already have abilities that negate team wipes. You also have to consider the distance from spawn. On maps like Hanamura and Anubis, where the spawn is ridiculously far, you probably want to go with a teleporter. For the most part, I've personally been using TP a lot and it has saved the game numerous times, but I can also see the usefulness of shield gen against teams that aren't wombo combo heavy. It's ultimately up to your judgment, so analyze the flow of the game and decide which will benefit your team the most. Once your ultimate is down, you want to start playing more aggressively and really letting the enemy feel the heat. But always keep in mind your positioning because you do not want to be caught out and die unnecessarily. Keep your orb spam up, but constantly move around so the enemy doesn't know exactly where you are. Once you see the enemy tanks engaging, it is your chance to hide and prepare to take out their backlines. Use your shield barrier to block as much damage as you can, and then move to a position where you can flank whoever's in the back. The supports should be your main priority, but go for whoever's in the back so you don't get caught out. Use your shield barrier here to deflect abilities like Sleep Dart or Flashbang, and keep moving like a madman to keep pressure on your target as they get cooked alive. I often spam crouch in the middle of a 1v1 because it throws the enemy off even further, but this is not necessary. If you're successful, you now have a 120 DPS microwave on your hands, so commit and finish the rest of their team. If there is no opportunity to go for their backlines and your team is getting picked off, then start defending the actual point by placing turrets in sporadic places and finding cover from which you can surprise attack from when your team hopefully recoups. Do not try and take on multiple enemies head on by yourself because that usually does not work. Usually. That's pretty much how I play Symmetra on the first point of defense, and I guess the thing to take away is finding balance in how passive or aggressive you play. If all you do is stand at the very back spamming orbs, you probably aren't contributing much. If you get too close without being careful of your positioning, you are pretty much dead. So move yourself around the battlefield, keep the enemy guessing, and then pounce on them when the opportunity arises. Now for some general tips, when you place turrets down, try and space them apart and put them in less predictable places as they have a very long range. Force the enemy to look up and down to find your turrets. When you place a teleporter down, take an extra second to put it in the correct direction so your teammates don't get disorientated when they use it. The arrows coming out of the teleporter show the direction in which your teammates will face when they exit the TP. This is a very basic but important action that every Symmetra player should do. Get free charges on your primary weapon against things like Maze Wall or Winston Barrier, but don't forget to recharge when the wall or barrier comes down. Know when to switch off Symmetra. If the enemy team has both a Pharah and a flanker and you die very early on, it's probably better to switch to someone else, rather than to try and survive by luck. Communicate with your team. Let your team know where you put your ultimate, how many charges are left on your teleporter, and when you are going in so you can be supported. A nano boosted Symmetra is an absolute force to be reckoned with and shouldn't be underestimated. So that's pretty much it for today's episode of Symmetra Tips. If you are interested to know how I play her on attack or other modes or even beyond the first point of defense, then stick around because I hope to cover these in future videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.